All right, gather round, you bags of actual garbage and rice. Grandfather Sauce is back for a basic economics lesson. I can't believe we're still doing this. Everything is dumb. Paging anyone on the literal planet. Are you guys actually here with me? Does anybody know how anything works? Everybody, please gather around. Grandfather Sauce has a basic economics lesson. This video, this live stream, this bag tickler is entitled Basic Economics for Clowns because the world is dumb, everything is on fire, and people don't know how basic, literal, actual human numbers work here on the planet of actual, supposedly, allegedly, Earth. The Anunnaki would be ashamed of how stupid we are. They wrote on stone tablets and built an MFing power station in the shape of a pyramid that lasted for 100,000 years, and we can't figure out that higher taxes is bad. But apparently everybody here knows what's going on, so bend down, grab your ankles, and open your balloon knot, because I'm about to shoot a Fauch torpedo into your dirt star. I hate everything. The world is stupid. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by BobbySauce.com because nobody wants to sponsor the channel, so crank my bag, buy yourself a Ban Crime t-shirt, or perhaps a based Flex Fit hat, crank my bag. If you don't want to do that, send me a Venmo, send me a Cash App, or kindly insult me in the comments, as per usual. If you feel like you understand basic numbers and taxes and like how the literal actual planet functions, feel free to take a hike, and I won't crank this one into your brown eye. I hate everything. Yo, excuse me, pardon me, the world's on fire, everything's stupid. What I cannot seem to understand is how people are just so clueless about literal, actual, basic economics and literal numbers. It's like 90-something percent, 95% of the people on the planet are employed, meaning that they sign the back of a paycheck, not the front of a paycheck. And apparently, because people decided to not like start a business, run a business, or understand the basic fundamentals of numbers, or like open a couple of their ojos, perhaps half an ojo, and maybe observe the actual literal world instead of just like mindlessly droning along like a lemming, like snap, crackle, tape, send it out. Apparently everybody works in a factory of stupidness. The cows are like, I'm pretty sure that's a slaughterhouse, and they're like, shut up, stop independent thinking, and then they're just like up the ramp and then moo, and they're dead. And that's how every single person just apparently approaches the world. So that's great. So it's January 3rd, 2023, the year of our Lord, or whatever you want to say. And apparently, because people are stupid, Joseph Byron, Sloseph Byron, tickle your bag, take a shower with your daughter, has imposed a bunch of new tax hikes. And because people are literally low IQ and can't seem to understand literal basic finance and basic numbers, or like know how to use YouTube, because you could just type it in because it's not that hard, you bags of garbage. People just seem to be celebrating this because Sloseph Byron is not the bad orange man. He's not bad or he's orange. He might shower with his daughter, but he's not orange or bad. And apparently this makes everything okay. So that's great. Because today or yesterday or whatever, when Slow Byron got back from his Virgin Islands vacation, where the judge or the AG that filed that thing against Jeffrey Poopstain mysteriously got fired, and I'm sure next week she'll hang herself from a doorknob with a red scarf. Real heads know the truth. I'm sure that was totally fine. No big deal. He just private jetted a 4,000 page piece of paper. Couldn't you just printed it? Pretty sure they have printers down there, but whatever. Climate change or whatever. Everybody's dumb. I hate everything. Literally, Elon, page me up, get me off this planet. I'm not suicidal, just saying it's a joke, but like literally, page me up. Okay, so Slow Byron, hide the kid, sniffs the parm, made a post on Instagram before, and every idiot upside down like bot in Gine somewhere is like, great job, Mr. President, because they're stupid, or they don't exist because they're not even real because everything's dumb. And they're like, great job, Joe. And here's what I wanted to do. I couldn't even, I was out riding my skateboard. I almost dove headfirst off of a cliff into a pile of sharp rocks because I was like, I had too much. I'm not suicidal. people are actually celebrating the fact that Slow Byron showers with his daughter is going to tax corporations an additional 15%. But because people are literally dumb, sorry, it's the truth. Like, write me an email. You know what I mean? People are actually celebrating this. You're low IQ. Anyways, because for the 5,000th time, and I've made a video about this today, and I'm going to expound upon it in case anybody was like, I gotta wait till grandpa goes to sleep before I hop in the shower, like Ashley Byron. Anyways, look, if people can understand the basics, when you impose corporations, first of all, just to start, let me just level the playing field. Let me lay down the souls of all the people who fought for our country and stomp on them like Slow Byron. Let's just establish the basics. The United States of America and corporations pay very large quantities of tax. They pay large amounts of tax. They pay taxes on employees. They pay taxes on property. They pay sales tax. They pay employment tax. They pay insurance. They pay a variety of other things. They're paying plenty of taxes. Plenty of taxes. For example, me as a small business owner, when I had employees, did you know? Let me crank one into your brown eye. Okay. When you get the taxes taken out of your paycheck at the end of the week, at the end of the month, if you are receiving a paycheck currently, did you know that your employer matches those taxes? So when you sit there and you like feel your brown eye tickle because you just lost 30% of your paycheck to these taxes, your employer is paying, if not matching, a percentage of those taxes in addition to those taxes. So not only are they taking the taxes out on your behalf and then filing them, they're also paying additional taxes above that. They're paying taxes on the building that they own. They're paying taxes on the vehicles that they own, the property that they own, and they're paying probably local tax. They're paying taxes on services that they purchase. They're paying taxes on products they purchase. They're moving lots of money. In addition to all of that, if it's a publicly traded company, for example, people paid tax on the money that they invested into that company, and then they pay tax on the money when they divest from that company as well. So any investor is paying taxes on the income of the money that they make in the form of capital gains or short-term capital gains if they trade that stock for a short period of time. Plenty of taxes are going around and being spent. In addition to paying a ton of taxes, they're also creating products and services that people choose willingly to purchase with their own free will on money that has already been taxed, just so we know. And we all understand that money gets taxed in and out and in and out and in and out, right? We all get that. The same $100 can get taxed multiple times before it leaves your wallet. So these corporations are paying a lot of money in tax. So what happens next? They're like, oh, we're going to put an extra 15% taxes on these corporations. What is that corporation going to do with the 15% of money that they're losing in the form of taxes to the feds? I'll tell you what. The 15% that they're losing in taxes is going to be passed down to the consumer and taken away from the employee in the form of lower wages or in the form of higher prices or decreased quality. There is no other place. Corporations' job is not to be so altruistic that they just eat whatever amount of money the federal government tells them that they have to eat. If they impose a new 15% tax on them out of nowhere, making them less competitive in the global marketplace, then what do they have to do? They have to charge you more money to purchase that product or service. It's a cost of goods. It's a cost of doing business. It's kind of like if your accounting software is $1,000 a month and it goes up to $10,000 a month or $2,000 a month. You don't just eat that additional expense, you pass it down to your consumers or you take it away from some other expenditure. The most obvious thing that would happen in the event that there was not money being taken out of these corporations is they would invest the 15%. They would invest the 15% that they're going to be squandering by giving to the United States government for them to send to fucking Uganda to teach kids how to wear sneakers or some stupid shit, is they would use that 15% to do a couple of things. One, to reduce the prices of their products, goods, and services so that they could be more competitive in the marketplace. If they sell TVs, for example, if you sell TVs for $700 and you don't have to pay 15% to the tax man, well, what are you going to do? You might lower the price of that TV by increasing your workforce, by buying more advanced machinery to help you build those TVs for less money. You might buy more materials so that you could keep more stock on hand. You would keep more stock on hand, you would reduce your shipping times, whatever. You'd be able to deliver these products and goods to people for less money. As a result, if you have all these products, that means there's more in the marketplace. That reduces the demand, and thus, in order for you to compete, you have to lower the prices. Basic economics is so you can compete with your neighbor. The competition is typically to provide either a higher quality product or service or a lower priced product or service. So to compete with the other people in the marketplace, that's what you do. You invest the 15% to remain competitive. If you use that 15% for marketing, for example, the marketing grows the amount of people that have demand for your product or service, which means that more people are buying it. If more people buy it, that means that more cash is flowing in. You can hire more people to do the job faster. You can hire more salespeople. You can buy more marketing, thus stimulating the economy. The money goes out to your independent creators. The money goes out to the TV stations, the radio stations, the podcasters, the blog posts, the blog websites. You might invest in an additional building or an additional shipping facility. You might try to reduce your costs so that you can make more margin on the products that you deliver. You would take that 15% and you would invest it into growing the business. These businesses don't exist for 100-something years or 30 years and make hundreds of millions of dollars so that they could take that 15% and just grease the CEO or grease the shareholders. That 15% is spent wisely on growing the business. So the fact that people in 2023 are so clueless and brainwashed that they would actually celebrate higher taxes, not only for other American citizens, but for corporations, is absolutely insane. I never thought I would live in a planet where people clap for the tax man. Could you imagine being so dumb that you celebrate higher taxes? You gotta be low IQ, dog. We're shipping hundreds of billions of dollars squandered every single year on absolutely nothing that makes any sense to the residents of the United States of America. We're sending $100 billion over to Prezi t-shirt, Prezi sweatpants, Prezi comfy sneaks over in the crane. We're squandering hundreds of billions of dollars on the military-industrial complex, on every single bomb that's being dropped. Somebody's getting rich. We're squandering money shipping energy from overseas, shipping energy from places like Venezuela, so that instead of just drilling it here in the United States of America. We are making our American corporations less competitive in the global marketplace by instituting an additional 15% tax. The entire world is not subject to these exact same taxes. You want to attract business to the United States of America, not make it go away. And by the government taking an additional 15% off the top, absolutely no American citizen will benefit as a result of that tax increase. Literally not a single American citizen will benefit as a result of these higher taxes. And these people are so clueless because he's not bad and he's not orange. He's not the bad, orange, evil January 6th man, that they're so dumb that they're willing to cheer and applaud this because they've been brainwashed by the exact same people that told you to take a mysterious potion because the air at the grocery store is poison. And they're willing to celebrate this because they're so lulled into subservience and perpetual slavery that they can't even understand that it's not the man, it's the thing that he's putting into place. This old, sad, disgusting old man who everybody seems to be so happy with is literally increasing the amount of money in taxes that you pay. And people are so clueless and so brainwashed and so low IQ that they actually think that this is a good thing. You're dumb. Sorry, but you're dumb. On January 1st, 2023, the following tax hikes will take effect. $6.5 billion natural gas tax is going to be instituted as of 2 days ago, which will increase your household energy bills. Does anybody benefit as a result of paying higher energy bills? Absolutely nobody benefits that. No American citizen, especially the people in the lower and middle class, especially the people on a fixed income, do not benefit from this. This is why you're seeing your Social Security benefits going up at a record clip, because all the people that have a fixed income that are on Social Security would not be able to pay for all this stuff if they weren't so quickly and rapidly increasing the amount of money that people get paid in Social Security. The amount of money that we have in Social Security is not even included in the national debt. These are called I believe they're called unfunded liabilities. I think that's the word, unfunded liabilities. It's one of those, something liabilities, okay? So the amount of money that we owe in Social Security, especially considering that boomers are now retiring and that's basically one of the larger generations at this moment, unfunded liabilities. Yeah, is that what I said? Unfunded liabilities. So it's like by celebrating the fact that we're taxing these people, absolutely nobody benefits. So the amount of money that it costs to heat and cool your home, the natural gas for your home, literally a $6.5 billion natural gas tax on that. We're not allowing people to drill in the 2,000 supposed land leases to drill in the United States. The United States has the largest untapped reserve of oil in the entire world, larger than Saudi Arabia, larger than Iraq, than Iran, larger than Russia. We have the largest untapped oil reserves of any nation in the entire world. And we are supposedly advancing towards this green future that doesn't include the use of fossil fuels. Could you imagine how dumb you would have to be at this very moment in time to not tap and utilize those resources right now while everybody else is tapping and utilizing those resources, because they're still being used and the technology does not exist for us to completely replace them. So instead of using them, we're just squandering money by purchasing them from countries overseas, making them rich, polluting the planet even more if that's the way that you look at it, and all of the people suffer as a result. That's like if you had a huge collection of silver reserves and they had a new material that was better than silver and you would never be able to use silver again, and you were like, I'm just going to hold on to all this silver until it's completely worthless and worth nothing. Meanwhile, every single person in the world, especially in your own country, is suffering because the cost of silver is through the roof. That's America right now. Instead of drilling for the oil and gas here, your average everyday American citizen is paying through the nose for food, shipped goods, cars, chips, any single thing that has to be shipped, which is, last time I checked, everything. So every single person suffers as a result of these policies, but everybody is so clueless that 2.5 years later, all they can think about is the bad orange, evil bad, very orange, very evil, very bad, no good, very bad man. And what he's doing, he's playing golf. His wife, goo. You're dumb. Sorry, you're sad inside. People are so clueless. All they can do is talk about Donnie and all of his bad, supposedly, allegedly evil. He's going to get arrested for the nuclear codes, guys. Just wait. He's in a pineapple under the sea. You're low IQ. Sorry. You're literally low IQ. But okay. Yet these people, these literally sad inside, low IQ, low T operators, are out there celebrating slow Byron, showers with the daughter, son sniffs the palm. What is wrong with you? These tax hikes violate President Slow Byron's tax pledge on any American making less than $400,000 per year. First of all, you're dumb. Second of all, literally you're dumb. Third of all, literally C numbers 1 and 2, you're dumb. He literally said, and everybody is so dumb because he's not bad and he's not orange. He just showers with his daughter, according to the thing that she wrote herself, but whatever. It's like, I'm sure it was Russian disinformation. 500 fucking losers wrote a note that says it's fake. Shut up, you're dumb. Oh, I believe what the TV says. Whom hurt you? Literally, whom hurt you? Do you have a brain wrinkle? Where is your father? You know what I mean? Did he teach you anything? I'm just saying, have you learned anything actually in the world? Why do they all look the same too? They're all like sad and soggy and they have like noodle arms and they're just like, no, and they paint their fingernails. Whom hurt you? Donde está tu padre? Literally, I'm just saying, donde. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, whatever. Okay. But this dude showers with his daughter, literally said, you won't tax, I'm not going to tax any person that makes more than $400,000 a year. Then it changed to any family making $400,000 a year. The guy said it, he dumped it out of his stupid face hole, and people are so dumb because he's not bad in orange, he just showers with his daughter, and they're like, oh, who cares? It's too late. So then it became $400,000 for a family, which in case you're dumb is $200,000. Oh, just like that, he cut it in half. Isn't that interesting? I won't raise taxes on it. He's not going to raise taxes, but he just did. Very clear, cut and dry, more than obvious. It's right out in the open. But what's the other one? The taxes on the gas, the tax you're paying in inflation, the secret hidden tax that's not secret and is obvious and is literally sitting in plain sight. You don't think you're going to pay more money for goods and services as a result of this 15% tax? You don't think your paycheck is going to get cut down as a result of this 15% tax? You don't think that the stock market and the future earnings of these large corporations is going to be affected by this 15% tax? We just had the worst performing year in the stock market since 2008. The worst performing year since 2008. How the stock market works, for anybody that needs me to tickle your bag, because this is Grandfather Sauce's Econ 101 for clown sneakers. The way that the stock market works is when you purchase a stock in a publicly traded company, what you are buying is a fraction of the potential value of the future earnings of that business. What you do when you buy a stock is you look at this thing called the market cap. The market cap is the estimated present value of that entire company if it was to be sold in entirety right now. The total value of all the shares added together. And what you're buying is you're buying a small slice of what they think that company would be worth. So let me give you a basic example. If the company makes $100 million a year in profit, you may value that business at a 10 times multiple. So you may value a company that makes $100 million a year in profit at $1 billion, 10 times profit. It's a normal multiple, 10x. So the company is worth $1 billion. Therefore, the market cap of that company would be $1 billion. The amount of shares outstanding would be that number, 1 billion, divided by that number of shares, and that would be your share price. What if a company makes $100 million a year in profit, and now they're going to have to pay 15% in tax? Well, the 10x multiple of that went from $100 million a year to 85 million. Now you take 85 and multiply it by 10. You just dropped the theoretical present day value of potential future earnings of that company from $1 billion to $850 million, which means that in theory, if the price was reflective of that future cost, the price of that stock would go down 15% as a result of that money that just got cut off as a haircut from that business. It's very, very basic. Because you're taking 15% of that business and adding a cost of doing business to that company for absolutely no reason. So that the feds can squander it by sending it to an upside down tribe in Uganda that doesn't even exist, so they could secretly launder money to some upside down guy in a green sweatshirt over in a country that has been corrupt since the jump, that the mainstream media is lying to you about the history of it for democracy, right? Literally sad, literal. I would highly encourage that everybody goes and watch the documentary Ukraine on Fire. If you want a little bit of a backstory of the Ukraine, it is eye-opening to say the least. $12 billion in a crude oil tax, which will increase household costs, a 16.4 cent per barrel tax on crude oil and imported petroleum. So if you feel like you've been paying a lot of money for gas, you're about to pay more, because when you increase the amount of costs of doing business, it gets passed down to the people in the form of high prices or in the employees in the form of lower wages. It is a cost of doing business. I see somebody said, where do I watch it? Google it. Literally Google it. All questions that any person ever asks that they have not Googled first are, I'm sorry, there's no dumb questions, but those are dumb questions. If you don't look it up to try to see where you can watch it, it's a dumb question. If it's a Googleable answer, I'm sorry, Google it. Look it up. Go online and type in Ukraine on fire documentary and click rent. Like, I shouldn't have to explain that to people. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean, but like, for Christ's sake, how do I find it? I don't know. Go to your local library and look under the seat. Maybe it's there. It's like, I'm sorry for the person that said it. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, dude, $1.2 billion coal tax, which increases from 50 cents per ton to $1.10 per ton, while the tax rate on coal from surface mining will increase from 25 cents per ton to 55 cents per ton. This will supposedly raise $1.2 billion in taxes that will be passed on to consumers in the form of higher electricity bills. So you got a tax on coal, you got a tax on imported oil and petroleum. They won't let them drill here in the United States. They make it cost prohibitive. They're encouraging people to not invest in drilling and refining here in America. So all this money that we're paying in gas, through the roof. I've been looking at a car lease lately. The average car lease in America right now is $758 or $718 for the average car lease in America. 24 months ago, the average car lease in America was $500. So you have a $250 increase, a 20-something, 30-something percent increase in 2 years on the amount of money that it costs to lease a car. 1 in 6 Americans is paying over $1,000 a month to lease a vehicle in the United States. 1 in 6. And nearly 3% of all auto leases are more than 30 days delinquent right now. I remember a few years ago watching on TV, and you would see an advertisement for a Range Rover, for leasing a Range Rover for $900 a month. And I was like, that's sick. Who has $900 a month? If you lease right now a Volkswagen SUV, a Volkswagen luxury SUV will cost the same amount. It is nearly $1,000 a month, if not more, to lease a Volkswagen SUV as it was a few years ago to lease a Range Rover. And people just think that this came magically out of the sky. Over the course of time, products and services cost less money because companies invest in plant and equipment and efficiencies to lower the price. And a corporation's intent at all times is to generate more cash flow by lowering the cost of goods and increasing the sales. That is always their objective. The way that they do that is by taking available cash and reinvesting it back into the business. Better machines, better processes, higher paid employees that are more efficient, and higher quality products that last longer. When you take money away from them, they cannot make those investments. That 15%, what these demons would like you to believe, is that these fat cat corporate pigs are sitting there taking that 15% and shoving it up their brown eye and eating Wagyu steaks upside down on a yacht somewhere. And supposedly by taxing them that 15%, well, now they're not going to do that. A lot of these companies that are going to get this 15% are publicly traded companies. The CEO is not the owner of the company. The CEO is an employee. An employee. CEO wages, like all wages, are a competitive free market cost of doing business. It's just like a cost of goods. The amount of money that a CEO makes is because that company needs to pay that CEO in order to generate enough positive income, in order to generate enough innovation at that business so that the business can stay competitive and continue making money. If that CEO was to go from Wendy's to Burger King, from Burger King to CVS, from CVS to some other large corporation, to Honda or whatever, they would get paid a competitive amount of money. rich fat cats don't set CEO wages in a fucking dark room somewhere with a cigar in their mouth and a 15-year-old sitting there. Prices of a CEO is a wage, much like the cost of a janitor is a wage, much like the cost of the toilet paper that you put in the bathroom at the business is a cost. If you put shitty toilet paper in the bathroom, people might have a scratchy butt. They may not be so happy while they're at work. It might bring their morale down. So you try to find the best quality toilet paper at the least price to keep the morale of your employees up so that they like going to work so they don't have a scratchy brown eye. You don't want to buy the cheapest because then they'll have a bleeding balloon knot and maybe they won't want to go to work at all. Maybe their productivity will decrease. You're constantly juggling this game of costs and expenses and weighing them. That's what a business does. So by taking away this 15%, all you're doing is passing that cost on to the consumer because there is no other chance. There is no other choice for it. That money that they're going to extract from these businesses will also make companies that are overseas more competitive, that are not subject to the same rate of tax. Now, we have a pretty good corporate tax. It was lowered by Donnie specifically for the purpose of making America more competitive internationally, and to draw companies back to the US. But if you say, hey, we're going to tax you 15%, imagine if you were about to build a factory and you just heard that they're going to increase the taxes here 15%. Well, why wouldn't you just build it in Mexico? Why wouldn't you just build it somewhere else? You would. And when you're talking about real big numbers, 15% makes a really big difference. This is why in states like New Jersey, California, and New York, you saw a large number of billionaires, multimillionaires move their operations to Florida and Texas. Florida does not have a state income tax. If you make $100 million a year, which plenty of people do, hate to break it to you, not because they're evil or bad or no good or very bad, but because they've produced a lot of value for a large number of people, which is how the free market economy works, even though they don't want you to believe that. The amount of money that person pays in income taxes every year, they could buy a $10 million house in Florida and basically for free. So if somebody cranks their bag enough in New Jersey, New York, California, or whatever, it robs them blind, they take the business, they move it to Florida, they move all the employees out, and everybody in those states respectively suffer as a result. And Florida gets rich. And that's why property value in Florida is up. Morale in Florida is up. We got the most coveted governor in the United States of America that probably won by the largest margin of any other governor. People in the entire country know who the governor of Florida is, whereas the vast majority of people don't know the governors of the vast majority of other states. But most people, at least ones that pay attention to politics, know who our governor is for that reason, because it's enticing. People don't understand that the free market and companies' intent at all times is to make more money. And by stealing 15% from them to the tax man, it doesn't benefit the taxpayer at all. You're talking about, if you listen to these taxes that I just said, a $12 billion crude oil tax, which will increase household costs on crude oil, will raise supposedly $12 billion in taxes. $12 billion. We sent $12 billion to the Crane to repair their energy grid. Yet that tax is being passed on to you right there. And not only that, it's only going to raise $12 billion. That's later. That's after the whole year passes. That's how much it raises. I guarantee you we will send them another $12 billion. And that's just the $12 billion that we're paying attention to. That's not the $12 billion that's being squandered on teaching kids in Kenya how to wear slippers or all this other stuff that's in the waste and abuse plans that are outlined by people like Rand Paul. We don't have a tax problem. We have a spending problem. They squander money needlessly. And if people could also understand, if you impose a 15% tax on all of those stocks, well, you know what holds a lot of stocks? IRAs, 401ks, and pension plans. Earlier this year, the federal government did something that is objectively unconstitutional without any problem at all. The United States government, a la you, the taxpayer, bailed out the Teamsters. I believe it was the Teamsters, a large union that had a too high of an amount of unfunded liabilities for the pensions that they had to pay out that they promised to their members. The federal government, the taxpayer, you and you and you paid to bail out a private organization's pension funds. There is absolutely nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government the power to do something like that. And why that one? Why didn't they bail out the pension funds of some other groups? Because the game is rigged and these people are literal demons. But because people don't understand the basics of economics, they are actually cheering for this because they're low IQ, they're low testosterone, and they don't have a basic understanding of how the world works. It is truly sad. As a result of these large corporations being taxed, like I said, your market cap of your companies, the estimated present value of future earnings will be reasonably estimated down, which means that your 401k goes down, your stock holdings and your stock investments go down. What does a publicly traded stock do for a company? What does it do? Why do companies sell stock to shareholders? The reason that a company sells stock to shareholders is to make cash available so that you can invest it into growing the business. A company will usually go public so that they can raise cash and use that cash to make more cash so that those shareholders can benefit by the increase in the value of the business if it was to be resold, or the increase of the dividend payments paid out to those investors throughout the course of their holdings being invested in that business. When stocks go down and people are getting screwed, a lot of people sell stocks. They sell their 401k. They cash out because they need more money to buy other things like gas, for example, or a car loan, or an automotive lease, or a plane ticket, thus making less cash available to that business so that it can grow. When a company, a large corporation, grows, what do? They reduce the costs to stick it to their competitor, to attract more customers to them. Think about Uber. Let's just use Uber, a very basic structure. If a corporation like Uber has to pay an additional 15% to the tax man, where do you think they're going to get it from? They're going to have to increase the cost of a ride on Uber, or they're going to have to reduce the amount of money that gets paid to the drivers, or they're going to have to reduce the footprint of the corporation. Reduce the amount of money that they use to acquire other businesses or hire more people so that the customer service is better. To hire more drivers, incentivize more drivers so that you get picked up faster in a cleaner car, a nicer car, a happier driver. Everybody is affected downline from that money being available. Because now a corporation like Lyft, for example, well, if they start paying their drivers less on Uber, well, then Lyft is maybe outcompeting them. Uber is not such a great example because there's only so many companies that compete for rideshare. But there's plenty of other companies that this exists for. But again, CEO pay is not the owners of the business. It's not the chairman, it's not the board of directors, and it's not the people that hold the real bag at the end of the day. It's the shareholders. Your average American citizen that's 45 years old or older holds stocks. A 30-year-old can hold stocks. You can hold stocks. An 18-year-old can hold stocks. This affects all of those stockholders. It affects all of those people. It affects the value of those corporations, the quality of the goods and services that they can provide, and how quickly and how quickly they can innovate to make those products and services higher quality at a lower price. It also disincentivizes other businesses to start in the United States and bring their business here. If there was another competitive rideshare company that was based in Canada, for example, why would they do business in the US if they knew they were going to get dinged for 15 points? They'd have to factor that into their cost of doing business, and they might just stay where they are. These 15% tax hits will affect union retirement plans. The 58% of American people who own stock, and more than 60 million American citizens who are invested in a 401k. An additional 14.83 million American citizens are invested in 529 education savings accounts, which will also be negatively affected by this. Retirement accounts in the United States of America hold the largest share of corporate stocks, accounting for roughly 37% of the outstanding $22.8 trillion in U.S. corporate stock, according to the Tax Foundation. Which means that retirement accounts will be affected because they hold 37% of all the U.S. corporate stock. So you just put a 15% hit on $22.8 trillion of stocks. 10% is how much? $2.8 trillion. $2.8 trillion. Because remember, stocks are based on the estimated value of future earnings. So just the simple fact that this policy is instituted evaporates the value of those future earnings, the potential value of those future earnings. In 2017, corporate-sponsored funds made up $4.45 trillion in market value. Union-sponsored funds, $409 billion. And public-sponsored funds, which benefit teachers and police officers, added up to $4.25 trillion. So the 15% will affect teachers, police officers, anyone with a 401k, anyone who holds stocks, anybody with an investment fund, which amounts to 58% of American citizens. $225 billion corporate income tax hike, which will be passed on to households. A 15% corporate alternative minimum tax on the financial statement income of American businesses reporting $1 billion in profits for the past 3 years. These American companies employ millions of people. The millions of people that will be affected by this corporate income tax will all receive less money in wages while we're in an inflationary spiral and a tax hole we can never get out of. A tax foundation report, and I'm getting this information from atr.org. A tax foundation report from last December found a 15% books tax would reduce GDP by 0.1% and remove up to 27,000 jobs. Because if a business loses an additional 15%, the easiest and simplest thing to do is reduce your future liability in the form of employees. So firing 1,000 people, 100 people, 15 people is the easiest way to make up some of that tax burden. As a result, customer service, for example, you lose a couple customer service people, the service is slower for the users, tough luck. Think about your cable company. Think about how long it takes for you to call into your cable company. Right? Those cable companies had to, in order to compete, they shipped all those customer service jobs overseas to be competitive. Now you take another 15% cut. Well, they're going to ship, and they had them in maybe a company like Bangladesh. Now they're going to have them in somewhere even cheaper. Or maybe there just won't be one at all, and you'll have to talk to a robot. According to this analysis, 49.7% of the tax will be borne by the manufacturing industry at a time when manufacturers are already struggling with supply chain disruption. And it's like, again, how people are so clueless to this and the basics of this absolutely blows my mind. You should not celebrate an increased amount of taxes for any American citizen or any American business, because for the 5 millionth time, we do not have a tax collection problem. We have a reckless spending problem. The reason that we're $33 trillion in debt is not because we don't collect enough taxes. It's because we spend money recklessly. That's Republicans, that's Democrats, that's almost every single last one of these demons. And up until recently, I've been like, well, we want to make sure that the Republicans win because they're better than the Democrats and they don't do this, they do it slow or whatever. But both parties are pathetic. Both of them are willing to sell us out down the river for $1 in a half a second. They're all completely full of it. And if you want to see the lowest tier operators, the lowest tier thinkers in the entire world, go to the POTUS Instagram account and go to the post that he just made about this tax hike and read the comments. Because if you're so clueless that you think that this is good, I feel bad for you. Increased tax on imported oil and petroleum, increased tax on coal, increased tax on natural gas, 15% corporate tax affecting every stockholder, 401k holder, investment account holder, pension account holder. The value of all these publicly traded companies that create products and services that we all love, that we buy and choose to purchase most of the time out of our own free will, stiffed, cut. I don't know about you, but I like buying Ubers. I like that for $15, I can avoid driving home, parking my car. You can have a drink if that's what you choose to do. The product and service that is provided by a corporation like Uber is A1. You love to buy it from them. You get an Uber Eats, you get a food delivered to your house when it's raining out, or when you don't want to drive, or when your car is in the shop, or when you're sick, and a human being will drive it to your doorstep. That is what you call value being created and you willingly purchasing a product or service from a person because you believe that the value of what they're giving you is worth more than the value of the paper that you're handing them. People like buying things from companies because if they didn't like it, they wouldn't buy it. This doesn't apply across the board. People don't usually like buying electricity, but they like buying electricity more than they like sleeping in the dark. These taxes will be felt by everybody, and the only people that will benefit are the fat cat politicians that will use that excess cash that they're also printing out of thin air because we don't have it anyways to create more inflated pork that they squander. Because if you had the government buy something like lawn service, let's just say, I need you to cut the lawn of a football field. If an American citizen hired a company to cut the lawn of that football field, what requirements would they need in order for them to cut the football field? They would say, you need to be a licensed business. You need to show up on time. You need to get it done at this time. And I'm going to shop around for the best price. You would negotiate the terms and they would cut the football field. Let's say that it costs $1,000 to cut the football field. Great. The federal government goes to hire somebody to cut the grass of a football field. that exact same football field, there would be a bidding process of companies that would bid to cut that football field price. Bids would come in at $1,800, $1,400, $1,700, whatever. If you don't get a bid that's $1,000, there's no bid for $1,000. Why would they bid so much money? Because they got to fill out an application. They got to fill out a bidding process. They got to employ a lesbian and an upside down T, and they got to have a woman on the board of directors or some other BS red tape. They got to use a lawnmower that's powered by dandelion spores and fairy dust. When any normal person, any normal business would be looking out to get the highest quality service at the lowest price. But they're spending money that isn't theirs on someone that's not them. When a business is spending money, it's spending their money on themselves. The disconnect of how the government views money and how it spends it is completely different than that of an individual citizen or a normal business. So the exact same football field that would cost $1,000 to a normal citizen would cost the taxpayer twice that. This is happening across the board, which is why you see such needless, outrageous, excessive prices being charged for paving, snow plowing, and any number of things. When a city, for example, employs people to plow snow, right? Instead of investing in enough snow plows or having enough people hired to deal with the influx of more people being necessary to plow that snow, they promise some dude this exorbitant pension. And then when it comes time to shovel the snow, well, we don't have enough trucks. We don't have enough employees. So you have to pay the pensioned employee double time to go do it. Whereas if you were spending money that was your own as a business, you do a calculation, you say, we need to have more trucks. We need to have more people on staff. We need to have a pension plan that's going to be competitive that we can pay off later. But the cities, the municipalities, the states, the government, they give a pension that they know is going to get funded by the feds later. If they bankrupt the books, if they go too much, they just get a bailout. They just print more money out of thin air. There's no incentive. If a business does that, they go bankrupt. They go out of business. The government's not competing with anybody. They don't need to compete on prices. So instead of spending the extra money on a snowplow and taking it out of the budget, they just don't buy the snowplow. They just don't hire the additional person. As a result, the taxpayer, the citizen, takes longer for the road to be plowed, and it costs twice as much as it should have cost. But nobody cares because they're printing the money out of thin air. The incentive structure for the government is so much different than the incentive structure of a business because the government never goes bankrupt because they have a printing press. A business has to compete for your dollars. They have to compete in the form of high quality products, marketing, sales, competitive pricing, employees, longevity, marketing, all that. The government squanders money needlessly, and most of the people that are making the financial decisions in these halls of power have no business experience, or they have so much business experience that they figured out how to slice off enough pork for them and their buddies that they don't really care about you, that people they're serving, their constituents. These people are demons. They are soulless, empty demons. They don't care about you. They don't care about their constituents. They're not in it for public service. They are merchants of the darkness. They are demons. Yet people are so clueless and brainwashed that they will actually clap for additional taxes being levied on themselves. The society is so emotionally manipulated and sick and twisted and wrapped around their finger and brainwashed that they are applauding increased taxes. They are applauding higher gas. They are applauding chopping off a young boy's Pen 15 so that he could be a Jenny now. They are applauding the destruction of their own freedom. They're begging for their words to be censored. They're begging for their rights to self-preservation to be taken away. They're begging for it to cost more money for them to travel, more money for them to eat, more money for them to heat their house, more money for them to be more cost for them to be employed. There was this chatter over the Christmas break where they were like, "Oh, consumer spending is up or whatever, it's slightly down." You know why consumer spending is up or slightly down or whatever, why it's that level while everyone is broke? Because people are buying less goods for more money. The inflation is making it so that you get less for more money. So instead of you leasing that car for $500, it costs you $750. Who benefits from that? Nobody. The only person that benefits is the tax man. But again, people are so clueless that they are actually celebrating an increase in taxes. You gotta be dumb. I can't imagine that this is the world that we live in, that people celebrate higher taxes. Mind-blowing. And then you have these demons. You have these weeble wobbles. You have these pocket-sized dirt merchants like Robert Reich, for example, that will gaslight you about how these big, bad, evil corporations are all consolidating. They consolidate because of the policies put in place by weebles like Robert Reich that put it into place so that these corporations have no choice but to minimize their expenses and costs and all of their regulatory obligations by merging them together. And then they say it's a monopoly. And then they break it up. There's a story, I believe it was Blockbuster merging with some other video rental company in the late 90s. And it was busted up by the government because of for antitrust reasons. Blockbuster. And while they busted up this merger that would have had to happen necessarily to keep this business alive, while they broke it up, within years, Blockbuster was bankrupt. And a company like Netflix took all of their market share. Monopolies are created by government. Government creates monopolies. Monopolies would not be created in the free market on their own. One of the most famous breakups of a supposed monopoly was Standard Oil. That was broken up famously, I don't want to butcher the year, in the early 1900s, I believe. John D. Rockefeller at Standard Oil was running a tremendous business that was eclipsing the entire competition by using a waste product, petroleum, I believe, and selling it when other companies were just throwing it away and wasting it. As a result, he was able to reduce all of his costs and sell goods at a very reasonable price, and he wasn't gouging anybody. And everybody was prospering as a result. And it is for that reason that he became one of the richest men to ever live. Standard Oil was broken up under antitrust rules by the government, thus increasing the cost of doing business, a cost that had to ultimately get passed down to the consumer because you were running this well-oiled, pun intended, machine that now has to operate as all these separate entities. And John D. Rockefeller, the supposed fat cat, the supposed bad man, never got more rich than he got after his company was broken up because of antitrust and monopoly laws. He made far more money with the company divided into a number of subsidiaries than he ever did with the company as one company. The government creates monopolies. People fail to understand that even though there are bad people in corporations around this world, there's no doubt about it. Just like you could say that the climate is affected by people, should you believe that to whatever degree. But just because you can believe that one thing is true doesn't mean that the solution that these demons come up with to solve it is correct. That's where everybody gets lost. Are there evil corporations? Hell yeah. Are there monopolistic corporations? Hell yeah. They're typically incentivized to do more evil by the government, and they're typically monopolized as a result of government regulation and consolidation. The red tape that exists for these businesses makes it cost prohibitive and time prohibitive for other companies to compete. So if you impose all of these regulations and all these hoops that these companies have to jump through, in order to keep the price competitive, you have to merge with other businesses, acquire other businesses, or not get into business in the first place. The incentive structure of a large, bloated government does not exist in the same way that a free market capitalist economy incentivizes businesses to get better. The reason that people are rich is because they saved money, capital, by not spending it needlessly and frivolously on things that were just wasted costs. They saved their money and they invested that money into jobs, products, services, plant, and equipment that allowed them to produce a product or service that was competitively priced so that people would willingly choose to buy it with their own free will. Every large corporation in America has been started by individual human beings saving capital and creating processes by which they can produce a product or service that is competitively priced in a marketplace. A marketplace that is not dictated how it ebbs and flows by anything other than the free will and free flow of money. If the government got out of the way right now and changed the policy, we would be drilling and refining more gasoline and oil in America. It would reduce the cost of food. It would reduce the cost of transporting water, specifically spring water. It would reduce the cost of importing goods from overseas, which is the vast majority of goods that you use on an everyday basis. It would reduce the costs to own a car, to maintain a car. It would reduce the costs of raw goods to improve the quality of a home, including wood, glass, windows, doors, insulation, air conditioning, pipes, tubes, copper. It would reduce the cost of tires. It would reduce the cost of electronics. It would reduce the cost of software. Because all of these things are affected by all of this government bloat. If it was not cost prohibitive to manufacture products in the United States, companies would manufacture them here. The reason they don't is because they shop that business out, that manufacturing process out to other countries that enslave people like Gine. And it's out of sight, out of mind to your everyday average American consumer. I would wager that a good percentage of the coffee, diamonds, rare earth minerals like cobalt, and other things that have to be mined in these foreign lands are being mined for pennies on the dollar by people who are basically enslaved. You're talking human rights abuses. You're talking unsafe working conditions. You're talking needless human suffering the world over due to policies. The amount of evil that's being put on our planet as a result of bloated, needless, wasteful squandering of taxpayer dollars is uncalculable, incalculable, unquantifiable. And people think that it's a debate over the bad orange man and the man who showers with his daughter, when in reality, these are just the deliverers of the message at any given point while the machine continues to pump. The amount of profiteering that is happening right now as a result of the wars that are going on is astronomical. American defense contractors like your Raytheons, your Northrop Grummons, your Boeings, and all these other defense contractors, every time a bomb goes off, a missile gets fired, a helicopter gets built and shipped, a human being gets blown apart, these companies are getting rich. The number one polluter in the United States is the U.S. military. Number one, highest pollution, the U.S. military. Yet all of these fakes and phonies that find themselves to be so virtuous and wise are so dumb that they can't see 5 inches in front of their face. They scream and squeal and support people like Leonardo DiCaprio or any of these other lying actor liars that are just useful instruments of the globalist. And meanwhile, as a result of everybody's passive approach to the basic fundamentals of the economy, money, capitalism, and the free market, millions upon hundreds of millions of people are suffering around the world as a result. It's not about how much tax you pay. It's about how much suffering everybody else feels as a result of this needless squandering. Because if we didn't have so much power and if we didn't have so much money to squander to send to places like the Crane, they would negotiate a deal for peace. If we didn't have so much money being printed out of thin air, it wouldn't be squandered on giving needles to crackheads in Philly, in giving affordable housing that costs twice the amount of normal housing in Los Angeles. And you wouldn't have police officers in New York, for example, not getting a pay raise for 4 years while the crime rates skyrocket, while these exact same demons are giving themselves a raise. In Congress, governors. If you watch Ukraine on Fire, this documentary that was made in 2017 by a person that is not a far right at all person, Roger, whatever his name is, doesn't even matter. Robert, I don't even remember. They talk about how the U.S. installed a governor, I believe they called it a governor, of a large city in the Crane. And this governor was paid an annual salary of something like $200,000, making this guy that was being paid by the U.S. taxpayer one of the highest paid governors in America, but he was a governor in the Crane. Oliver Stone, that's it. It's like every single thing that they've been telling us about the crane, the vast majority of it is a total fabrication. And everything that they gaslight the people with, everybody laps up because nobody has any depth of understanding or any long-term memory. And the people that see it, that have the critical thinking skills and rational thoughts needed to understand this stuff, they talk about it and they're silenced from the conversation, removed from the digital platforms, and ostracized in social circles by people that are completely clueless. Yeah, somebody on, and this is the way I love the, have you ever been to Ukraine? You don't have to go to Ukraine. I don't have to go to Alaska to know that it snows there, bro. Like, that's the stupidest argument. Have you ever been there? No, I don't know. I didn't know. I've never seen a polar bear, but I know they exist, my guy. Have you ever been inside a volcano? Do you know it's hot? No, I don't know it's hot. It's just burning, melting lava rolling down a hillside, melting everything inside. But no, I haven't been inside a volcano, bro. It's called research. These are the types of people that we're engaging with out here. People that are so emotionally committed to not being wrong that they'll completely block out any rational thought whatsoever. They're like, yeah, tax us more. Get those big, bad, evil corporations. Everybody that's got money is going to get way more money from this. It's the people that don't have money that lose. You think a rich person gives a shit how much money is in his 401k? You think rich people have a 401k? You're kidding yourself. You think rich people give that much of a shit about their stock holdings? No. Rich people have dividend-paying stocks. Their stocks pay dividends. The amount of money that goes up or down based on the value of that stock is irrelevant. They're not buying and selling. They're collecting dividends. Those dividends are typically are very competitively priced so that they don't take their money and move it to another company that pays a higher dividend. A lot of companies have kept their dividends exactly the same for 30 plus years to not lose those investors. Rich people own things like real estate, tangible assets that up and down based on the value, based on the inflation. So if they buy a house for $1 million and inflation is up 10%, well, the value of the house goes up. They're not taking loans. They're not holding out loans, 5% loans, 7% loans. They don't have a mortgage. That mortgage is felt by the average American citizen that gets a car loan, that gets the financing loan, that gets a small business loan, that mortgages a house. Rich people don't need to worry about that. They don't need to worry about a mortgage. They don't need to worry about a short-term loan. It affects everybody but them. It's a massive wealth transfer. But people are so clueless, so mad at the bad, evil, very bad, very orange man and their ideology that they refuse to believe might actually be wrong, that they can't understand basic economics. This is not a political matter. It's not about slow Byron. It's about basic economics. If Donnie was doing this, I'd be the first person to say it's garbage. Yeah, people, you're for wealth transfers as long as it goes to the top. That's a comment on TikTok. Yeah, because I'm at the top. I'm really at the top. It's like, why would I want wealth transfers for the top? You think I have $1 billion? You think I have $100 million? You think I have $10 million? Oh, I want wealth. I'm willing to sacrifice the entire American population that I literally talk about, all the people in the lower and middle income, probably the vast majority of people that might generate less income than me. And the only reason I care is so that people way above me make more money. Why would I do that? Why would I spend my time doing that? Why? Why would I do that? Yet you, on the other hand, pretend like you actually care about the little guy. Maybe you're the little guy, but maybe you're the little guy because you don't understand that you're voting and choosing and celebrating your own demise, your own financial destruction, because you haven't taken the time to understand basic economics and how business runs. You think this money comes out of thin air? How could you possibly think, under any reasonable circumstance, that squeezing 15 points out of a corporation is going to benefit you at all? How is that going to benefit you? You tell me how the average American citizen benefits by Uber getting taxed 15%, by Microsoft being taxed 15%, by ExxonMobil being taxed 15%. You tell me how the average American citizen benefits from that. And if your answer is they're going to take that money and reinvest it here, you're out of your gourd. Literally clueless. Remain clueless. These people hate you. And all you can come up with is, oh, you're the yeah, you know why I want people? Because average American citizens that made it to the top are just as valuable as you or me. I don't want any American citizen to be taxed more money. If we're going to send $100 billion to a midget in a t-shirt, to a midget in a green sweatshirt, then I don't want anybody being taxed more. I don't care if you got $100 billion. You should not be paying any more money in taxes if we're going to send it to a sad person, a corrupt person in a sweatshirt. I don't want anybody else paying more taxes if we're going to buy oil from Venezuela, where the people have been suffering there needlessly for decades. It's like, dude, the fact that people are actually willing to celebrate this and be happy with it is mind-blowing to me. With that being said, I'll answer a couple questions. I know the comments are getting spicy on TickSnap, where logic and reason goes to die. I saw a couple of badges come in. I want to thank the people that bought the badges. Really appreciate that. Thank you, ECU Guy 11, Generose SP, Holistic Wellness from Within, American Cat, Britt C. Wolf, Walker French, Jen Golan, and Peggy Lou for the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. Thanks for going to bobbysauce.com and grabbing the merch. I really appreciate it. Somebody says, without taxes, how do we pay Lauren Boebert $174,000 a year? I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay taxes, bro. Nobody here is pitching no taxes. Does anybody at any point hear me say there should be no taxes? We're paying plenty of money in taxes. And the taxes that Lauren Boebert generates are minuscule in the amount of money that we needlessly squander. I would bet that we squander $174,000 a minute on toilet paper. People are so clueless. Do you think that the U.S. would be able to stop communism from spreading if we let it run free in Europe? I don't know. Harley Jr. says, I don't want to pay taxes anymore. Move to Puerto Rico. Road, bridges, police, school, firefighters. Yeah, you're talking about things that are paid by taxes. I'm not pitching no taxes. What I'm saying is that we're needlessly squandering hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars overseas and on programs and things that we don't need to squander so much money on. They don't pay federal income taxes in Puerto Rico. It's the people that always have the spiciest comments, the pro-communism, the pro-Marxist comments on TickSnap are always people that don't have a profile photo, that are too afraid to even show their identity on the page, that have a name like Upside Down 123 and a profile photo of like a teardrop falling from like a goat's anus. What a bunch of fucking losers. A bunch of people reported me on TikTok and I just got blocked. What a bunch of losers. Hateful behavior. Losers. That's why we can't have nice things. Because it's like, here we are having a reasonable conversation, and these soggy soy people report my account, and I get my live access removed from TikTok for the 20th time for engaging with the people, but they can't handle it. And then it takes 24 hours to remove your appeal, and then I'm automatically banned for a week by default. And they don't review the appeal in 24 hours. You just stay banned for the week. Somebody said, I agree with what you are saying, but is it true that companies like Amazon avoid paying taxes? Okay. A company's job, my job as an American citizen, in order to compete in the marketplace, is to reduce my tax liability because it's a cost of doing business. If I could reduce my tax liability legally, why would I not do that? People don't pay taxes, or at the very least should not pay taxes based out of altruism. You're not doing a favor to anybody else by paying more taxes. You might think that you are, but you're really not. It's a drop in the bucket. Amazon will take its amount of money that it makes every year, and it will try to legally reduce its tax liability by, instead of squandering it by sending it to the government, they can reinvest it into their business. If at the end of the year you have $100,000 of profit, let's say $100,000 of profit, right? And your tax is 20%. You have $100,000 of profit at the end of the year, and your taxes that you're about to pay is $20,000. So you're about to pay 20% on that $100,000. Well, if you reduce your tax liability by $100,000, your tax liability is zero. If you reduce your profit by $50,000, your tax liability is cut in half. By reducing the amount of profits that you have, you're reducing the amount of tax liability that you'll have to pay out. So what are you going to do? Are you going to say, you know what? I want to just give it to the government. I'm going to take my $100,000, I'm going to give them 20. Now I only have 80. If you could take that $100,000 and you could invest it into your business, maybe you hire a new employee, maybe you buy a new piece of equipment, maybe you buy a new building. You buy a new building for the $100,000. Now your tax liability, your profit is zero. So your tax liability is zero now. You avoided paying taxes. But what did you get as a result? You got a building. You know what you're going to be able to do with that building? You're going to be able to house more employees. You're going to be able to hold more inventory. You're going to be able to improve your shipping process. You're going to be able to put new equipment in there that will make your products and services easier to produce. You took the $100,000, and instead of squandering it by handing it over to the government, you reinvested it into growing your business. By you having an additional facility, an additional building, your shipping times are faster. You got more employees that might go in there that are going to give better customer service. That's going to attract more people. You're going to reduce the cost because instead of holding let's say you have lumber in a small building, you can only hold so much lumber. Well, now you have a bigger building. You can hold more lumber in there, which means you can buy more lumber at once. At the end of the year, if you have $100,000 and you have a tax liability, why wouldn't you invest it into a bunch of inventory? You would take that $100,000 and you would purchase a bunch of inventory and hold that inventory in the warehouse that you just bought. And that inventory would sit there, and now your tax liability would go from $20,000 to zero. You would invest the money back into the business to reduce your tax liability because the tax liability would be a waste. You are incentivized legally by the structure to reinvest it in your business. In order for it to be a write-off, in order for it to reduce your taxable income, it has to fit certain parameters. You can't just go out and buy 1,000 Wagyu steaks for the team. To reduce your liability, you would invest into a new truck, a new building, new employees, more marketing, better products, more storage, more inventory. You would spend the money to reduce the tax liability so that you could grow the business. That's why you would do it. So if Amazon avoids taxes, good for Amazon. Last time I checked, when your Amazon package comes in freaking 3 hours and you buy a bag of cheese for $9.99 and it gets to your house in 3.5 hours, are you not happy with that? And you could say the evil nature of Amazon and those people, whatever, but separate it from the business in general. You're choosing to buy it from Amazon. The reason that they're able to get you a pack of cheese in 3 hours is because they invested all that money into being able to do that so quickly. Local warehouses that hold your stuff. Automated machines that process these orders in a split-second time. And it's like, you don't have to believe that Amazon in totality is good, but any business works that way. So if a company legally reduces its tax liability, good, because the beneficiary of that is you, the American citizen, the consumer. The purchaser is the beneficiary. The stockholders are the beneficiary. The 401k holders are the beneficiary. All the people that invest, all of the savings and investment funds, the 401ks, the pension plans, all of those people benefited as a result of that business reinvesting money into producing a higher quality service at a lower price faster and more efficiently. Taxes are not your friend. We don't have a tax collection problem for the 50 billionth time. We have a squandering spending problem. If you were to reduce all those tax liabilities so those companies could invest back into growing their business, well, the government wouldn't have so much money to squander. We wouldn't be able to send $100 billion to a Prezi green sweatshirt. We wouldn't be able to squander money on seeing whether or not pigs are gay in Portugal. They squander money on the dumbest shit imaginable. But people don't understand. The corporations are incentivized to provide you a product and service that you choose to buy. They're competing for your dollar. The government doesn't compete for your dollar. They don't have to compete for your money. They just take it. Don't you want people that are evil competing for your dollar versus people that are evil just taking it? Because they're both evil. There's plenty of evil people in everything. There's evil people in nonprofits. There's evil people at your barbershop. There's evil people at the restaurant down the street. There's an evil person on your block. There's people that are evil everywhere. It's the nature of the beast. We're in the jungle, dog. But to think that paying more taxes is going to somehow create a better world, you're out of your gourd. It's like, dude, what is going on? Like, how do people not understand this? And I will admit, like, it probably turns a lot of people off where I start all worked up and I'm like, if you don't see this, you're dumb. I don't like that about myself, and it's something that I need to work on. So please hold me to account. I got to stop doing that. It's like I'm joking. I'm not trying to be mean, but like it's a joke, but I shouldn't be doing that. I need to get better at doing that and not doing that. Yes, yes, exactly. The more money and the more spending power and control that the citizen have, the better the world is, period. Eric on Facebook says it's time to downsize federal, state, and local governments. That's right. Needless squandering of taxpayer dollars. Because the other thing, and this is another very basic component of this, is like the government and local governments, local municipalities, state governments are not incentivized to be financially wise, right? What does that mean? At the end of the year, if you have a budget of $10 million, and at the end of the year, you have a surplus of $500K or $1 million in your budget, when the state comes and says, hey, how much budget did you spend? Oh, we had a $10 million budget. We spent $9 million. They're going to say, okay, good job. And they're going to move on. If you have a $10 million budget and you spend $12 million and you have a $2 million deficit, what does the state do? What does the federal government do? They bail you out. They bail you out. They say, okay, they give you the $2 million. They incentivize you to squander the money. And if you don't spend what's in your budget, it goes away. You lose it. So they're incentivized to squander your money. There's a program in Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, where it's like they want you to download some app called like Chicago's Dumb Garbage. I love Chicago, but Lori Littlehead is a clown sneaker. on wheels. And it's like, go to the Chicago for You app. It's on the App Store. You know how much money the city of Chicago probably paid for that app that nobody uses? Probably millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And you know who probably built that app? Probably some company that knows some person that's Lori Lightfoot's fucking cousin. And some company knew that they were coming and they pitched it. Oh, we'll make you an app. And they got the app contract, and it was grotesque, probably $1 million. And they shipped it out to some people in China. It took them 5 years to make it when they said it was going to make one, because the government doesn't give a shit because they're stupid. So the government of Chicago bought a $5 million app. And then when it comes re-election time, Lori Lightfoot can say, look, we made the Tickle Your Bag Chicago app where you can see restaurants and cool stuff that people could do. How many people are short of finding things to do? Zero. Nobody uses these apps. Nobody needs that. The federal government's job is not, the state and local or city government's responsibility is not to provide an app that lists all the events and businesses in that area. If such a product needed to exist, a private business would create it in order to benefit financially from it. If there was a need for it, it would exist. They don't need to do that. But that's how they squander your money. You know how many people probably use that app? Zero. The daily active users on that app is probably 104. And they paid millions of dollars for it, and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep it up. This is how they squander your money. But it's just like, but people are just brainwashed, so clueless. It's like how you could be pro more government, more power to the state, more power to the establishment, less power to the people, less money in your pocket is like beyond me. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it exists. It's called Public Square. True that. But anyways, that's what I don't understand is just like, I get worked up about it because it's just so basic and so obvious. And it's like, dude, how do you, like, I don't understand. People are like, good job, Joe. Tax those corporations. It's like, moron. Like, you're literally begging for your own, like, how could you want more taxes? What planet are you on that you're like, yeah, tax us more? It's sick, man. UAP? What is UAP? I don't know what UAP is. Unidentified aerial phenomena. I think it's probably what you think it is. Yeah, it's like the amount of money that's being spent in other countries not on you is astronomical. Staged controlled. I don't know. I don't have any more intel on that than anybody else. But regardless, I just don't get that. It's like you have people that are financially illiterate on the financial services board. It's like you have Alexandria Ocasio heck of a Moscow Muleo on the financial services board. And it's like, what does this chick know about finance? Has this girl ever run a business, owned a business? She's 33 years old. She's like, oh yeah, I got student loans. She's making $170K a year. She buys a Tesla. She gets a $100,000 Tesla and has student loans. She's making $175K a year. She's on the financial service. She can't manage her own finances. It's like, what universe? I just don't get that, man. Truly sad. Sad and dark and dark and sad and sad and dark and sad. But the soy people that live in the basement on TickSnap are so butthurt they had to report my live stream because I said that the guy is an upside down dweebus with an icon of like a crying goat, and he doesn't have the integrity to actually have an identity to associate when they talk about being a communist. Anyways, I lost it before. I was going ape. Whatever. It's like, where's the line between jokes and going absolutely ham sandwich? Where do you draw that line? I don't know. Anyways, if I'll take another question or two before I go. It's been an hour and a half, and I'll jump off in a second. Why is this happening still? What can we do about it? I mean, I feel like I've answered that question 50,000 ways, upside down, left and right, what we can do about it. I think that the question of what can we do about it is, like, I hate to say it, but it's just like, I feel like it's just like a lazy question. It's like, if you're asking me, I've made 100 videos talking about this and what you can do about it. And I'm not a rocket scientist. Like, what do you think you should do about it? You know? Like, what do you think you should do about it? Spread the word. Tell people about it. Participate in local things. Figure out where you get in, where you fit in. Change the way you vote. Talk to people. I mean, it's like I've done this 1,000 times. Yeah, people be like, what do I do? It's like I have 2,000 videos talking about what to do. And that's just me. It's like, I understand what you're saying. I get it. Okay, so he says, I know, but that's not going to change shit. Then why do you even care? Why pay attention at all? Why do you even pay attention? If you don't believe that anything you're going to do is going to change anything, why do you even pay attention? Why aren't you just watching Netflix right now? What are you wasting your time for? That's what I don't understand. It's not going to do anything. Well, then who cares? Well, then what? Then lay down. Then lay down and disconnect. Why pay attention? If it's not going to do anything, why do you even care? You have to believe to some degree of optimism that you can change the world for the better by participating in the game. If you think it's over and it's not going to do anything, why are you listening? Just watch TV. Like, I'm sorry, but go do something else. I don't know. Do you think we could have a violent revolution? No, I don't think we should have a violent revolution at all. Why would you want a violent revolution? Why would you want a violent anything? Nobody needs to be violent. People are out here cheering for more taxes. It has nothing to do with violence. It has to do with brainwashing. It's like people are tuned out. People can't figure out the basics. You don't need any violent uprising. You don't need any violence ever. Violence is never the answer. It's like if you can't convince a person to realize what's sitting in front of their face, no amount of violence is going to solve anything. I don't know. I just feel like this stuff's so frustrating because it's so obvious, and it's like people just continue to just be like, yeah, good job, Joe. Good. And listen to these demons. Like Melted Turtle, Mitch McGarble. It's like these people are pieces of trash. It's like, I can't stand these people. Oh, Ian, you want to come on? Well, I have to end the stream on Facebook and YouTube if I do that. But I'm down to do that for a few minutes. My head hurts from the headphones anyways. All right. Facebook, YouTube, Getter, Twitch. I'm going to end the live stream on those platforms, and we're going to go back to a live stream on Instagram for a little bit. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Ian, I'm going to close the stream down, and then I'll reopen a new live, and I'll bring you on, and we can talk for a little bit. To everybody on Facebook, Getter, YouTube, if you want to keep watching the stream, go on Instagram at Take Naps and tune in. And I'll see you on the Instagram feed in a minute. That's all for this episode. Basic Economics for Clowns, episode 20. Go to bobbysawshow.com. Leave a review of the show. bobbysauceshow.com. Go to bobbysauce.com, support the channel. Thanks so everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. Make sure you leave a review if you liked what you heard here, and please share the show. That's all for now. All right, YouTube, Facebook, Getter, peace. I'll see you on